Yo, let's talk about recognition and respect. While I feast, the label's picking up the check. Then I leave to catch myself. The audience never forgets when I'm on stage. There's serotonin. Welcome to an episode of Recognition and Respect with your boy SHNEAKY. I got Echo in the house. Say what's up, Echo.
What's going on, man? How you doing, Sneak?
Man, this shit is wild, bro. This shit is wild. We're on, we're doing episode 7 right now. I've been trying to do all this, like, video, chatting, all this live shit, you know, just transitioning into this style. We're live right now on all kinds of platforms, just trying to bring it to the people, you know?
Absolutely, man.
So, what's up with you? Are you working right now? Are you considered essential at the moment, or what?
I am. Luckily, I'm working from home, bro. I work for Chanel. All right, so I'm an inventory supervisor for Chanel. So they've basically been taking care of us, for lack of a better term. So I'm good. My job is good. I got a job to go back to. I've been working from home every day as far as jumping on Chanel, things that they got us doing, like modules and trainings and conference calls all day and stuff. So I got a good chunk of time in the day where I actually do work.
Okay, so you're one of the fortunate ones, right? That you're still working, but you're not at risk. You're not putting yourself or your family. You got a family, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So you're not putting anybody at any unnecessary risk. So that's dope, man.
Yeah, my last day was probably, I think, March 13th or some shit. It was like a Friday in the middle of the month in March, and that was the last day I was actually at the store working. Since then, it's been like all these like emails being sent to us. We got work phones. So I got my personal phone and I got a Chanel phone. So the Chanel phone blows up with like all these emails and conference calls and meetings and trainings and just crazy stuff they got us doing. So I just be jumping on every day at a certain time and just stay on the phone with them and do the conference calls and chime in, show like Zoom. Same thing, but it's Microsoft Teams we using. So we jump on that and everybody just sees each other at home, quarantining. Like I've been quarantining like a month.
So what do they have you working on, or like what are you currently, like, trainings? What are what's your quote unquote job right now?
Well, me, because I'm in inventory, obviously it's a little different because I'm not at the store lifting boxes, moving things around the store.
Yeah, because usually you would be like in person, setting up, breaking down, making sure no one jacked anything, counting, all of that, right? So what does that look like from home, you know?
I'd be receiving packages from FedEx, UPS every day, 20, 25 boxes, opening them, doing inventory. But it's been a lot of like Chanel education, a lot of training on education and where the company came from and all that stuff. I guess stuff that we would have been learning when we first got hired, per se, that wasn't necessarily we were able to, digest when we were learning our jobs at that time. But now it's all about the Chanel culture, the heritage, Coco Chanel herself, the movements, the years of when she put certain things out into public as far as things for women to buy and revolutionizing the way women dress. So it's interesting. I mean, like I said, I'm happy I got the job, number one. Number two, I'm actually feeling like I'm still invested in a job of some sort from home, oddly enough.
So I think that's interesting. So it's almost like they're trying to create better brand ambassadors and have like employees who are more well versed and who are actually like that are gonna, when this ends, or if it ends, y'all are gonna be better Chanel employees, right? Like,
yeah, I mean the people that sell actually know a lot of this stuff already, and we all kind of sort of know it ourselves. But this is just kind of cementing the information as far as the know-how, because it's stuff that the salespeople do with clients when they come in and tell them, when she made this bag in 1955, and it was because when she was on a date, she saw this lady wearing a thing, and it was uncomfortable, so she changed it, and it became this. And there's a whole story behind each piece. So now I'm learning all that stuff, even though I kind of knew it. Now I know it like textbook.
Right. That's interesting, man. That whole like corporate culture and how everything's having to shift and how people are like staying agile is interesting, dude. Like, it's kind of a trip, right? There's a lot of memes going around, right? And one of the ones that I keep thinking is funny is, or like funny, sad, political, whatever, but it's kind of like it's like Corona showing you all the things that they told you couldn't be done could be, right? Like you can work from home and education can be less time. Like,
right? Like, I'm homeschooling every day. My daughter got assignments. She got a app she has to jump on every day and do certain amount of activities in different subjects. So I'm the teacher, so to speak. Me and wifey, we at home, so we both holding it down every day, just having her do different stuff. All of this is obviously so unprecedented, is having us learn on site how to like adapt to this new normal, so to speak. So like this stuff we're doing right now, like I I remember I came to you and we did the podcast.
Yeah, we have another episode that's available on the Recognition and Respect feed, and I'm actually gonna re-release it onto the new network that's like Spotify and Google and Samsung and like a bunch of other like more platforms, you know. So it's gonna come out
Nice.
again for a bigger audience. But yeah, I used to have a spot, and you came, and you know,
And now we're here virtually doing it somehow, some way, in real time, and it's incredible. I mean, this is all very obviously sad. It's pandemic. It's got its negatives, but a lot of it, bro. I mean, it's cup half full, cup half empty. I mean, I've always wanted to be able to work from home, be around my daughter more. You know, my BM used to always be like, "Wow, I wish you would be able to take a day off twice a week or something, just to be home with me and help me with the kid and do all this stuff." And I was like, "Man, you know, I got to be at the store 5 days a week."
and your job
Now
told
I'm
you
home
nah.
5 days.
Your job was like, nah, you can't. But now that you have to, they're like, oh, we'll figure out a way to make it work, right? Like now they make it work, right?
Like me and you, like right now, we're all making it work. We were talking before we jumped on this, like how we're all adapting to these new technologies and apps and how to use them and learning them on the fly. Like I've been doing that since this started with the music, like with the jumping on people's IG lives, podcasts, poetry, speakeasies online, like digital Zoom calls, like all that. It's insane. Concerts. I've done 2 concerts on my own from the car, in the car with the audio, and people say it knocks. It's dope. It's a new way to, digest music. It's crazy.
I mean, even right now, like you're using your phone in your whip, right? And yeah, we're getting like some cutoff here and there, but it's already way better than my last episode. My homie was using his laptop, and I guess like his Wi-Fi wasn't as good or something, right? Like, and I feel like the quality of the call is not as good as an in-person conversation, but we're getting it across. You know, we're making it work, and I think that's like
Exactly.
if there is if there's any silver lining, right? Like it sucks. I mean, it's super sad and tragic that like people are dying and economies, businesses are being shut down, but there are so many positive things coming out of this. Like
Yeah, it's a life like lesson in itself. Like in every piece of darkness, death, whatever, a firing, a breakup, there is a gold nugget in there somewhere if you're able to gain enough clarity within at some point to see it. Nothing is just one way. Nothing is just like negative and that's it. And there's no other flip to that coin. Like everything has a flip to the coin. It's whether you want to see the coin flip or not.
yeah, definitely, right? It's all about. I mean, there's a reason why they call it a silver lining, right? You kind of have to look for it. It's like this little thin part that's around the outside of a cloud, like a
Yeah.
stormy cloud, right? You actually have to look for it and notice it and recognize it. I mean, and
Of course, you could succumb to the fear. You could succumb to the not knowing. You could succumb to all that shit if you really wanted to. It's easy. That's the easy part. The hard part is to actually say, yeah, there's got to be something else to this. I got to be able to make this work for myself. And we do. Especially like me and you, creatives, so to speak, artists. We're like so essential right now for people.
I mean, that was one of the first things that I said when I was bringing this back, and I was like, yo, I'm consuming so much content right now, you know, like I went on some crazy marathon binge watch Netflix, you know, down rabbit holes of like, you know, I watched like all the Lethal Weapons and shit, you know, like, you know, I went deep and I was like, yo, like I should probably start like creating content, you know, and then I also had homies like my crew, the Monster Mashup Clan, like the rap crew, they were like, you know, we can't just let this. You know, we gotta find a way to capitalize, take advantage, use it to our.
Yeah.
So I mean, I did this whole podcast shit. I'm in my apartment right now.
I saw you with the bros doing drinking games, playing chess with face. It's dope concepts, man. Like I said, like we learning. All of us are learning all of this on the fly. As far as like, and you see the difference too, because I know a lot. Nothing, nothing bad to say about my homies, but I do see a lot of the homies and non-homies that were once buzzing or online every day, doing different things every day, posting, have stopped in the last month. And I get it. It's hard to shift and adapt to this, but if you're an artist, creative, you have this in you. You have to pour it out somewhere. I've noticed the downshift in the content creating, and and again, if you're an artist now in this day and age, you kind of know already that this is all we're in an era of a lot of content driven media, like that's what it is. So if you lax, if you're not posting for a day or two, it could affect you dramatically as far as followers, and it's not all about the numbers only, but you're trying to reach people if that's ultimately what you're really doing in this artistry for. I'm trying to reach billions.
No, yeah,
but I don't want to lose connection with people.
And especially if you want to come out of this at least where you were at or stronger, you gotta you gotta keep the consistency. And honestly, like
I fell off for sure, man. I'm pretty sure you noticed. Like, I mean, my Sneaky Entertainment page is mostly an events page, right? So no
Right.
events. It's like, what are we posting? We don't got flyers. We don't got the promo
Right.
videos. We don't got the footage from the last party. So, and
Right.
then my personal page is the one, like my official Sneaky, the music page that, you know, where I do my rap shit is where I've been trying to like stay more active. And even then, it's like, that shit, it was tough, man. Honestly,
Yeah.
it took me
Yeah.
like a month and a half, dude, to get out of like that dark place I was in, man, where I didn't see.
Yeah, but I can see the difference for you. I mean, as far as the fact that you are a promoter, and there's it's a lot of event driven activity that you know delve into and you deal with. So I understand that, especially coming from the instant it all happened, because it was all a very big adjustment. Obviously, work wise for me, Chanel, and other people working, losing work, and artists were like, "What the fuck do I do now? Like I live to go out and perform. I can't perform." And then you got to start thinking, well, there's other ways to perform. There's other ways to create content. There's other things I could give my followers, my fans. I don't need to just be at venues only. You adapt.
No, yeah, and I think that was huge for me to just kind of realize, because in the beginning you didn't know how long it was gonna be, right? Like at first,
Right.
because you said your last day in the store was Friday the 13th, which was I had speakeasy that day, and
Yes.
then the next day I DJed at Indy, and that was the 14th, and pretty much that next day or that following Monday it was like lockdown, and pretty much all
Quarantine,
the
stay home.
bars, all my venues, all the gigs, everything got canceled,
Yeah, man.
postponed, and so that shit threw me, just the financial shit alone, right? Because that's my main bread and butter,
Of
right?
course.
So that alone, but then also just that comfort, that escapism from having live shows, groups of people, you know, being able to go out and dance and be with
Yeah.
like-minded individuals. Like, there was a reason why I chose that as my job. It was something that I needed to survive, you know? Like, it was a
Right.
perfect symbiotic relationship. Like, I need this to be okay, and I can get paid to do it, you know? So both of
Right.
those things, it took a minute, and luckily, like you know, I had Face that was, you know, uh kept, you know, pushing and you know, trying to be strong and hold it together for the squad. And you know,
Shout out
luckily,
Faith and Barlow's.
yeah, shout out the homies. And I already had the podcasting gear, you know, so, and
Yeah.
it was a matter of just kind of like stepping it up and figuring out
Snapping
how
it
to.
out of it and getting in. Yeah. Yeah.
And it took a while, man, and I'm not gonna, I some days I still wake up feeling like shit, man, so like I get it. And if
Yeah, and
anything,
I get it too. I don't. That's why I don't knock nobody. I just I observe and I see, and I use a lot of what I see in my life, personally speaking, throughout my awakening as a teenager to a young adult to where I am today. Just learning from experience, not just mine but others, and seeing the non-posting and the non-content and the falling off and how it was affecting me as a viewer watching, saying, "Damn, what the fuck?" And then I was like, "Oh shit, what if people think that what I just thought about this guy about me?" And no content for me. And people used to me posting every day from my car, a IGTV episode or a quick concert on my lunch break or something. I was always doing something. So for me to go from that to nothing to zero, I was like, I can't allow that. So that's when I just started looking into doing my own stuff. And from people watching me do my own stuff, they asked me to do their stuff and jump on their stuff. And that branched out to other pot. And now we're just like, okay, now we're back in the groove.
it's funny how that works, right? Because that's how it works
Energy.
in live music too, right? It's like you show
Yes.
up places, you rock a show here, someone sees you, you get booked here, you're on the, you know, like you go meet up this group of people, they tell these folks about you, and it's like it's literally the same thing, but digital
I
now,
always
online, you know, like.
I always tell the young cats, like the up and comers, the 1 year rappers, 2 year rappers, I'm always like, yo, you go to a venue, there could be 3 people in the room, there could be 4 people there, you feel like shit, you don't want to rock no more, nobody's there to see you, blah, blah, blah. But if you come away that night with one person walking out of those 4 people saying, hey, I have a venue that I do shows at in this other city, I want you to come rock with me next month, whatever, that's a win. As long as you come away from some sort of like stepping stone to another thing that night, in some way, a fan, so one of the 3 people that was there walks up to you and says, where can I hear your music? I want to go buy your stuff. In 2 days, they go buy your album, your T-shirt, whatever, and they tell a friend. That's a win. It's like you got to see the bigger picture. You got to use one thing to get the other. So that's like you said, I started doing my own concert in the car, promoting it on IG like a real concert with my own flyer I made. People like 19, 25 people showed up. From those 25 people, 3 people told me they wanted me to jump on their lives that weekend. I was like, dope. I'm telling my BM, I'm like, I got gigs.
I got gigs.
Like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean you got gigs? We quarantine. I'm like, yeah, but I'm gonna start rocking, like from my bedroom, from the dining room, from the car, like on the walk. Fuck it.
No, and that's kind of like, I guess in the last 2 weeks when this thing got extended, right? I was like, all right, this is gonna be a little bit longer than I thought, so I better start doing more shit. Yeah, so now I'm trying to knock out like 3 or 4 of these a week. You know, these are quick. It's no travel time, super easy, right? Like
Yeah.
couple tests, couple clicks of some buttons, couple technical difficulties. So try to knock some of these out. I got the
Shout
DJ
out
gear.
my boy EJ, my boy an artist that rocks with me all the time. I just saw him post that he got somehow delivered all on, I guess, Amazon somewhere. He got, the setup for the crib, got a microphone, got a new mic, got a whole like laptop, got speakers up. He's like, I'm ready to knock songs out a week. I'm like, see, that's if I was at home stuck with the equipment, you'd have an album every 3 weeks from me.
Right, and a lot of studios got closed, right? So it wasn't even that
Yeah.
people had to get like people. It's not that people wanted to like all of a sudden become studio engineers and shit. They had to, you know.
Yeah, and me personally, people have told me for years, even back in New York when I was rocking out there, that just like when I guess it started really, because I was such an Eminem fan, and the homies was telling me, yo, Eminem, he started making his own beats, bro. Like his third album, he did his whole album produced by himself, whatever. If you learn to make your own beats, you'll rap better and you'll learn how to do all this other shit and learn to work with the equipment and the buttons. For me personally, it's just never been a passion, so I've never gotten involved. But a week and a half ago, I was on YouTube watching tutorials of GarageBand, iPhone, and I learned in like an hour in my car watching 3 or 4 tutorials how to record myself over a beat on GarageBand on my phone. I'm gonna knock out like 3 songs this week, just rough vocals, but knock them out.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? A lot of like, and I guess we're going right into the next topic, just creative struggles, right? Like trying to. I mean, I have all the gear, but like being able to find somewhere like a place to write from, you know, that isn't like
Inspiration.
that isn't like cliched or like kind of the same shit. Like obviously everybody's going through the pandemic, Corona right now. Do you really need to rap about that or like it's everybody's like.
It's funny because Michael Rappaport, I think on his IG, one of my followers sent me a post he posted 2 days ago where he was screaming at the hip hop community how there's no activist rap right now. Like he was like, if Tupac was alive, he would have put out a freestyle or something, or 2 or 3 songs, a quick EP of like the pandemic and Corona and how it's affecting us and then what we should do about it. Like, where's the rappers? Where's the hip hoppers? I was like, oh shit, there's a thought.
See, that's
Like you just said, it's a cliche maybe thing to rap about, but it's funny that this guy 2 days ago was on his IG saying
the
he hasn't
exact
heard
opposite.
anybody.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like, man, maybe that's a topic to attack. Maybe this is all about those raps right now. I don't know.
And I guess I don't know.
Person.
Personally, like I usually come from that conscious political, like I'm usually there already, and I just feel like right now I'm on my escapism shit. You know what I mean? Like now I'm talking about like I'm in the crib blazing it. You know, like that's where I'm at right now. So it's like it's like
that's
some other shit. So I've been trying to find my inspiration, my lane, my zone in this whole like. Again,
it's weird because I guess in a way the conspiracies you would rap about or the spiritual oneness that we would all be rapping about is happening. So now you don't want to rap about it, and now you want to escape from it and rap about things you wouldn't rap about. Like it's weird.
It's it's like it's literally like a shift in the universe, or like in our universe has shifted like what I want to. It almost like now the Zanny bars make sense, you know? Like how many people are fucking dosed up right now because they can't even.
You need feel good music right now. People want to feel fucking good because they feel fucking bad. I get it. It's intrinsic. The moment you wake up, you're like, in the first split second, maybe you forget. And then you realize after like 2 seconds of waking up, you're like, oh shit.
I'm stuck here.
Oh shit, yeah. Oh shit. I've woken up sometimes like ready to like, get my daughter breakfast, get going and start going and dress for work. And I'm like, oh wait, oh shit, this is real. Nah. Holy shit, okay. Okay, we're
honestly, dude, I find it hard to get out of bed these days. Like, I don't even remember the last time I was up like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. I mean,
that's why God bless my daughter. If it wasn't for my daughter, I'd probably be in a situation like that more so than I am. But because of her and her schooling and my ability to have to like homeschool her, it keeps me on point with knowing she's got to call at 9:30 with the school. Then she's got another like 3 activities before lunch at noon. Then we got lunch, noon to 1. Then she has quiet time 1 to 2. Then from 2 to 3, she has 3 activities. Like, it's keeping me like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, that's another crazy like revelation I'm having, you know, like my whole entrepreneur like independent contractor lifestyle of like not having a schedule is
Yeah,
like it's crazy right now because I kind of wish I had things like I kind
you
of
got to
wish I
make
had
it.
some kind of structure. Like I need to make my own structure now cuz like
Yeah,
I used to just
I
work
printed it.
around.
I printed a schedule and I have it taped all over my fucking house. Like I have it taped like above my fireplace, at my front door, at the kitchen window. Like I have it taped so my daughter at least can see like every hour what's popping, like what we're getting into, and it's a structure. Every day we do the same stuff, but it keeps me grounded a little bit because I'm very OCD in general. Like you go to my drawers now, you see like my socks and my shirts and my colors and my whites. Like I'm very cuckoo like that. So for me, life is almost a compartmentalized thing. I
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that with
yeah.
my own life every day anyway. So I needed that to help me probably get through this and the weed.
The weed has been so key, man. I've been smoking so much weed. Like I'm lucky I had some savings, you know, from my weed, you know, like and apparently the government's supposed to be releasing some more money tomorrow that I'm be able to apply for like independent contractors and self-employed shit. So hopefully
Is that
this thing,
right?
yeah, I haven't gotten any relief yet, man. So I'm hoping something
Fuck.
comes through soon. But so creatively, like have you been finding any struggles on how to be creative? Obviously, you've already kind of that hurdle of like shows and performances and all that. You kind of like figured
Yeah.
that out already, but like, are you having
Yeah. I mean,
writing
the only
issues? Like, is it hard? Like, do you have a home studio? What's up with that?
no home studio. Like I said, I mean, a week ago I was learning how to use GarageBand, which came with the phone I bought a while ago, and I never even opened the app because I'm not into making beats and nothing like that. But I always have had and always get like beat packs from producers all over the country, all over the world. And I have like emails full, like I Dropbox files full of like beats, just to write to from different producers. So I always got material to write to. So it's just a matter of like, damn, now that I can't get to a studio, how do I lay vocals? I got all these songs written in my phone. How do I lay vocals? So I figured let me just record raw vocals on my GarageBand over the beats that I import into GarageBand and just send them back to the producers at the home studios and let them rock with it and fine tune it and tweak it and do all the stuff that they got to do to it. So I'm like, in some way, I'm gonna put out music and like a week and a half ago, my homie out in New York that I used to record with, Big Shot Will Knox in the Bronx, he posted a picture of a 2003 like mixtape I put out in New York when I first was a baby, started rapping, and it blew my mind. And it made me start going through my boxes in my garage and house to see if I could find it so I could start listening to it and play it and post it. I didn't find that, but I found another EP that I put out that same year that was something that was handing out in the streets and selling all over New York. I'm gonna start releasing those joints as little capsules because I put out it was like at least 25 records and they're
So
all relevant.
that was like pre social media, so
Yeah,
like
that
a
was like
lot of that
early.
stuff's not out, like pre SoundCloud, right? So a lot of that stuff's
That
not
was
uploaded,
MySpace.
right?
Yeah, that was MySpace, SoundClick, all them old joints. That was like when I moved to LA in 2004. So this music is like right before I left New York in like 2002, 2003, where I was just like starting to bubble up on the rap. And when I got here, I really like went crazy, meeting a lot of the collectives in LA and rocking with certain homies. And just started meeting so many people that I started to branch out musically more. But these joints are so raw that I was like, I gotta let the world hear this shit. So I'm now working with a couple of my graphic designer homies, emailing, texting, figuring out graphics and covers. But I'm gonna drop a little series on people that is gonna like be super dope. So that's got me over a lot of my creative hurdles as far as like thinking about what to do. How do I plot something out? Like this is a good little rollout for me.
Oh no, that's cool, man. Like it's kind of like a repackaging, right? Like that's what all the genius brands do, right? That's like a Drake
Yeah.
move, just re-release some old shit like in a new package and
Yeah, because for real, only really the New York homies heard all this music. And I've got a whole base in LA that I grew since I moved here, '04 to now. So they haven't heard any of this material. And I played it on IG Live the other day just for a few fans to follow and listen with me in the car as I heard it, because I hadn't heard it in like 10 years or more.
so it's like
So
a
now I'm like,
listening
damn.
party.
Yeah, and a lot of people were like, yo, where can I cop that? Put it on your Bandcamp. Where do I buy that? I was like, yo, you know what? I got about 30 songs. Let me start leaking some of this shit in some reformatted, dope, up-to-date, current packaging.
Yeah, I mean, if
We'll see.
anything, shit, do singles, a song a week, you know? That's like,
Exactly. The wheels are turning. That's what's good about this thing. Like I said, like having a structure on a daily basis with my seed, and then being able to like lay in bed at night, or when wifey goes upstairs and I stay downstairs in the living room watching TV, just thinking about what can I do tomorrow. Maybe I should do an IG live. Maybe I should, like today I read a book. today on IG Live, I like popped up, I posted it, promoted it, and I just started reading from one of my favorite books, a couple of excerpts, and people tuned in and was like, wow. So every night I'm thinking of like, what can I do that's gonna like be something to keep me motivated and gassed and like inspired, all that.
I feel like I have the ideas, but like the motivation to actually execute and follow through is not always there, Like some days I wake up and I'm like, oh yeah, I was gonna do all this shit today, but not really feeling it, So I gotta find a way to like get over that mental, like there's a block right there, And I'm hoping that figuring this stuff out and actually getting a little bit more consistent with the content and like getting back in the swing of like video editing and stuff hopefully helps like those juices start flowing. But I've been writing some fucking killer verses lately, man, and like
nice.
I think I'm gonna record some shit and just put out like singles or like a project
For sure.
Yeah, I'll probably put out a project, like a quarantine project, but I won't call it a quarantine project.
Yeah, man. It's like now is like not now is the time. I don't want to be cliche and say that, but now really is a good time to like hit certain people in certain different wavelengths and certain frequencies that you haven't been able to hit them before. Like I was never really an IG Live guy. I never watched them. I never did them. When I did them, nobody would log on, and I would log the fuck off in 3 seconds because I was frustrated, like whatever. But now it's become a whole aspect of my, online personality. People look forward to my IG Live. They ask me, when am I doing the next one? They throw me, ideas about what to do, what they want to hear me say, what they want to hear me talk about. So I'm like, wow, the learning of like how to use these apps and how to use even the stupid shit like the filters and the, different backgrounds and all that stuff is like just knowledge. And I've always been this believer in like, what do you call it? Tripartite soul. And us not being humans, but being souls having human experiences, and our soul's purpose. Our soul's purpose is what guides us. And to me, everybody's soul purpose ultimately is learn. Like ultimately, I feel that's all you're here to do. Whether you see that as like a chalkboard learning, or you see that as learning from experiences, or you see that as reading book, whatever the learning means to you, or whatever how many ways learning is defined to you, that's what life to me is all about. So I'm learning every day. I'm learning how to live through this, let alone how to use YouTube right, or how to figure out my Instagram algorithms, or how to upload beats to GarageBand and record vocals. Like I'm learning that, let alone other shit that I'm not even realizing I'm learning by living.
And I think though, like, and I'm talking from personal experience. As you said that, it kind of like triggered something in me because I feel like the learning part, but not wanting to fail. Like it took me forever to start doing this because I was like, I haven't figured it out just yet. Like I'm still like, I don't want it to suck. I don't want it to look bad. Like how do I make sure it sounds good and looks good and like. But I feel like I got over that point today or like last week when I went to set it up with you, right? I set up like 3 or 4 interviews and the computer crashed. And I was like, fuck. But now I'm just like, you know what? Let's just do it. And like, let's just see what happens, right? And like, I'm not even paying attention to the stream, so I don't know if people are commenting or whatever. If you are, thank you for tuning in. I'm sorry. Still figuring it out. Mainly doing this to post it up later, but I figure if everybody's on the live, so why don't I just, keep some of the
but I feel like you just said, the fear can be a blockage, and you getting past it yourself personally and just in general, one being able to push past that fear they feel as far as failure is like a whole, like, it's like when they do those cartoons and you see the animals go through like a clearing in the jungle and all of a sudden this giant paradise is in front of them in the middle of nowhere. That's what that's like. Like for me, like when I first started doing podcasts, I was doing them on my phone in my walk-in closet on the floor with a fan on me, holding the phone like this, watching my voice on the screen as I was talking to make sure I didn't peek. And I would hear it back and be like, that sounds terrible, or I stuttered there. I don't know how to edit that part out where I just took a long breath for no reason. And I stopped. I wouldn't post until one day I was like, I just got to post it.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck the quality. Fuck what I think. Fuck what I think people are going to think when they hear it and how bad it sounds. They don't have to know I did it in my bedroom and closet. And I'm going to do it and just upload it. And I just started uploading like crazy. And I probably have like 150 podcasts up. Just fuck it.
I mean, at some point, like, yeah, either you gotta take that leap, or you're just gonna be stuck and still, and like you're not gonna advance, right?
Yeah, even like in not just hip hop, I mean in life, but in hip hop, like there was a different marker back in the day for like putting out trash. There was a different standard. Whereas now we have the internet era and instant gratification society and the millennials or whatever. So now it's about pouring content, bad or good, into the news sphere, into the internet.
And actually, like, to piggyback off of that, it's like now with the whole quarantine, lockdown, pandemic, the people are so thirsty for it now. Like, they're hungry for like, they don't care. they just want to be looking. They just want to be somewhere other than wherever they're at, and they're gonna use
Yes.
this little fucking portal in their hand to
Yeah.
go there. So just give them
People
something,
want to.
right? Yeah.
People want to say, "Oh my God, this shit is so dope," or they want to say, "Oh, this shit sucks like a motherfucker," but they want to say something. So now it's like, just flood them. Like it's pointless whether you think the song is good or not, or whether the quality sounds good, or you shouldn't have said that word or whatever. Put it out. Put it all out. Like I'm dumping everything into the world. This, for obviously existential purposes, as far as I'm gonna die one day anyway. So why not just have it out into the cloud? You know, let somebody find it 10 years from now, whatever. But also, just feed the fans right now. People are hungry, whether or not you want to believe it, for the music, for any content to watch, listen to, or digest.
And
Throw it.
And honestly, like the little bit of content that I have dropped and the couple like drinking games and all that we've done, like I have had people reach out like telling me like it just for those couple things like it's good to see you're still active. It's good to see you're adapting. Like it, brings hope. I feel comfort that there's people still, like because a lot of people knew that I took a hit. When the bars got shut down and the clubs got shut down, and so the fact that I was able to still do stuff kind of like, relieved some of their fucking angst about worrying about people, right? Because a lot of people are worried about themselves and their families and other folks. And, I want to get into like these theories, right, of like where Corona came from or how long it's going to be here. Like, is this some kind of like Earth fucking born, like some consciousness changing, causing evolution, right? Like we're all evolving with like our content and our, the things that we want to express and how we interact with people, and it's just like it's a wild time to be alive, and I think like the more that we pump stuff out right now is like probably for the better, so that there's an accurate depiction of what was happening in these times, like. You're gonna have the media and YouTube and shit, and like who knows, 5-10 years from now they're gonna teach about this shit in history books. And
we live in the information age, so that in and of itself doesn't necessarily mean what people think as far as information. It's not good only information. There's tons of bad information too. So a lot of the conspiracy theories about this being something that's another one of these depopulation agendas, or something to take out a certain cultural or certain socioeconomic class out of society and whatever, and the government came up with it. I'm a huge conspiracy theorist, always have been. People know me for that as far as my raps, and even like I said today, I was reading "Behold the Pale Horse" by William Cooper online, for God's sakes. This to me is just something that happens every so often in nature, that occurs pandemic-wise as far as a flu. Yes, we could have obviously been probably more prepared. You got footage from people like Bush to Obama talking about how we had to prepare for something like this. It's almost like they spoke it into existence the way they described it back then when they were talking about the preparation necessary. And obviously we have this moron in office, so there's no preparation that we were able to do logically because we have an idiot. But the conspiracies and all that, I don't buy into that. I broke down that even the other day, like the conspiracy about chemtrails and all that stuff. I broke that down, how I used to be a big believer in that. And I realize now that there are things that are just contrails, that are just water evaporation, having to do with the jet turbine shooting at a certain altitude that creates ice in the sky that makes these trails. Like, there's certain things that are, yes, totally conspiratorial and worthy of research and investigation and dissection. And other things just are what they are, bro. Like, shout out the homie Michael White. He wrote a book called The End of Protest. I worked with him a couple of years ago on different things like Occupy. He was the founder of Occupy back in New York in 2011. So he writes about these 4 protest theories.
What was his name?
Micah White. Micah, Micah White. He started, he worked in Canada originally, and he started with a newspaper.
It's called The End of Protest?
End of Protest.
Tight.
Great fucking guy. I rock with him all the time online. We talk to each other. So he's definitely one of the innovators that are going to usher in a lot of shit. But his book breaks down these 4 theories of protest, which are what people have deemed to be the causes of revolutions throughout history, as far as what's made the revolutions that have happened happen. The core of it is youth. All revolutions throughout history has always been ushered in and started and pushed through by the youth of society at the time. The other thing is that there's 4 different breakdowns as far as the protest theories. One of them is about how we feel that we doing things causes revolution. There's other ones that talk about how things that happen in society, as far as gas prices and bread prices and essential things being certain, like shock value, that causes revolution. There's other things that are talked about in theory as far as divine intervention, things that are worldly and mystical that happen in society and in the world that cause revolutions that have nothing to do with people's activism. So I think that the pandemic, this one, the Spanish flu in 1918, and other things that have happened as far as society is concerned in the history of the planet, these are things that just help us learn new facets of ourselves as humans. Like, we live in the information age, we live in the technology age. This pandemic is causing us to learn almost how I've said for years, like, we're going to have to wind up merging with technology so that we linear minds can actually be able to exist with an exponential technology. Like, the technology grows exponentially, we grow linearly. So this pandemic is making us almost change our thinking to think exponentially, figuring things out in the moment. When we get disconnected, you reconnect us. When you need another person on the Zoom call, you somehow figure out through the buttons and the icons on the screen how to get them in. Like,
we're becoming data and shit from Star Trek. Like
we're becoming
like,
CPUs, processing units. We're processing data at crazy speeds right now because of this. Again, that's that cup half full, cup half empty. You can see this as a horrible thing. We can't go to beaches. People are losing jobs. Toilet paper's low. Like, I get it. But there's another side.
Well, I mean, it's also a class thing, though. You know, like, I mean, I'm lucky to be part of. Like, if these were, more ancient medieval times, I'd probably be part of that, like, artist class that was, like, patroned. I'd probably exist in that, like, that educated class that actually read and reads and writes. Like, and like, we're kind of seeing this pandemic has kind of brought out those class lines a little bit more.
It's magnifying.
Yeah,
it's magnifying.
Who's
getting tested? Who's getting tested for what reason? Why are ball players getting tested for no reason and they're not even showing shit? Like, all the questions arose.
Or who gets the money first, or like, who still has to work for money, and who's the unemployment taken care of, and like.
It opens up conversations about UBIs and universal basic incomes.
Who are the people protesting to open back up the state in the cities? Is it the folks who are most likely to be affected by that, or are they?
And that's also what we're redefining, like, essential. People keep using that term, essential this, is not essential that. Like, essential to people's health are we discussing now, or are we discussing essential to the economy and people now being able to see just how much influence their consumerism on a daily basis affects the structure, and how us spending is what makes everything run.
Items, right? What's essential? Is it what you need to survive, or are we now saying, well, things that help your mental health and things that keep you physically healthy, these are essential now, right? Like,
Well,
like,
think about Vegas. Like, the mayor of Vegas was getting blasted for talking about wanting to open Vegas and casinos and have people smoking cigarettes and walking around again like it's all hunky-dory, and people are like, that's not, we can't have that. And she's like, well, this is essential. The whole state, Nevada, Las Vegas, is predicated on people coming to spend. Yeah. If people ain't coming and there's something in the world happening that makes people not be able to come, we're fucked. Like, the whole structure is going to collapse. Like, that whole state could crumble economically. They might not recover for years.
Yeah, like Vegas could, like, the Strip could, like, lose, things could close down, like,
What? Like, it's crazy. But that's, like, again, like, and also think about, damn, we have technology now. Could you imagine going through a global pandemic in 1918?
No, I can't, bro. My brain literally cannot. I cannot even fathom what that must have been like.
Like what? Like, you wouldn't even have been able to hear through news that people in China were dying by the thousands and millions.
You wouldn't have found out until you died. Like, until your people started being affected, would you find out? Oh, there's some shit going around. Like.
Or even if it was like you got everybody in the village, everybody in town has to quarantine, all 1,200 of you. You people couldn't, like, Zoom call. You couldn't FaceTime your moms and see if she was okay. You couldn't FaceTime your wife. But, like, wow, we're lucky. We're fucking lucky in a way.
I mean, this
because
is the best time for this to happen, right? This was like literally the best time for this to happen. Like,
because like I said, the conspiracies or whatever. This happens, like, in nature, in history. Like, pandemics happen. Like, it happens on Earth every so 100.
I personally think this is like Earth consciousness. I think, like, the environment has had enough of our shit. Yeah, Gaia, Mother Earth. Like, that's one of the things that has been, like, coming up a lot, right? Like, the skies are clearer. the dolphins are coming back. Like you're seeing bears and
animals are happy, plants are happy.
Everything's it started raining. The rain was actually like clean rain type shit, and it's just like okay, so if I had to get into some fucking next level consciousness about and find a way to have an awakening, right? Where like you get and enact revenge on a certain age group of people who have been responsible for fracking and oil spills and like all the boomers, right? All the like those vulnerable ages, like a lot of those folks were responsible for not having an environmental movement or like supporting that, and then protecting the children, like younger folks are not, and they're more conscious on in terms of like veganism and environment, recycling. Like younger folks tend to be more into that shit, right? And at the same time you have like a clearing up of the environment, and people are like a renewed sense of like humanity and like understanding the need for each other and like how much do you need people, right? Like how
it's almost like reinventing a shamanism in ways, like the way that, like the elders and the Indians would like make sure when they migrated and traveled that they would make sure that the elders were somewhere in the center and that the strongest and the youngest were in the front to protect the path they were going on in case of attack and shit like that. Like it's making us go back to like look at maybe our senior citizens or elderly, because seeing them in this vulnerable state, you see the memes, you see like the old person in the supermarket with all the shelves empty and people saying, yo, don't do that. Like don't do that type of shit. We got to take care of the old people. Like they're the ones that give us the wisdom and the ways and like the teachings. Like we can't just let them fall off like that. Like we're supposed to take care, especially with technology. Like
they're kind of our conscious, right? Like if when you get older, like you become the parent to your parent, and you kind of have to realize all the shit that that like you kind of feel bad for all the shit you put them through, and that's part of the cycle of becoming.
I was gonna say that's the big picture ability to see the cyclical of life, the cycles of life, how life works. Like everything comes out the ground, grows up, goes back in the ground, goes down. It's just and that's what it is. That's what they are. That's what we will be, and that's what we'll be. Like I'll be to my daughter. Like that's all this is. It's a cycle. Like I was just talking with my BM today about like I forgot somebody said something like that's one of my top 10 fears, and I was like, damn, you got 10 fears? That's terrible. That's a lot of fear-based living. And then I was like, you know what?
How many not fears do you have?
And I used to be scared of, I used to say I was scared of clowns, I was scared of spiders, blah blah blah. But eventually, through all my awakening and my teachings and my pseudoscience or whatever, I realized the one thing is death. Everything is tied to death. And if you're not scared of death anymore, you ain't scared of shit. And I realized after I wasn't scared of death, or I realized to me death is being a door and opening to something else, and it doesn't stop there. I let go of all of it. I'm like, if I don't fear death, what's there to fear?
That's a nice that's a point there, because like, why are you afraid of spiders? Because they're gonna bite you and you're gonna die, right? Why are you afraid of clowns? Because you think they're psycho and they're gonna kill you, right? Like
all fear. Scared of heights because you're gonna fall and die. Everything is a connection to death, and it's because of this unknownness death brings into your life.
Claustrophobia is that you're gonna run out of air, or like you can't
and suffocate and die.
Gonna suffocate you and die, right? Like,
or you're gonna have a heart attack from it and die.
Or like agoraphobia, right? Too many people, right? Is like, oh, there might be a fucking germ or a killer here or a murderer, or these fools there might be a stampede and they might run me over, like,
Yeah. If you realize at some point that all the fears you possibly have in your life at that current moment are all tied to this one thing called death, and you realize if I'm not scared of death, I don't need to be scared of anything, you really can flip the brain. Like I flipped my brain. Like when I realized I'm not scared of death, and I realized I kind of have an understanding of what death is through all the readings and teachings and channelings, I'm like, I'm good. I'm not scared of nothing. People are, aren't you scared of dying your daughter? Aren't you scared of your daughter? I'm like, I don't attach somebody's death to me as far as a selfishness, like wanting them here for me. They die. That's part of the cycle, bro. Like if you understand that that's nature, that cycle, you're organic and that everything's organic and everything organic decays, you're okay. You come to peace. You can come to peace with it.
And as far as your seed or your offspring, right, it's like you teach them the best that you can while you're here, and you hope that when you pass, they learn their lesson from it, and it's part of their evolution as a person, right? Like I lost my pops when I was 7, and I'm pretty sure like I could probably trace like everything in my life right now to that and how it changed me and the choices I made and how I look at life and death and all of that, right? So those things are impactful and like sometimes I feel like and I had this conversation with Noah James. He was like sometimes people they pass away because it's like a purpose for like the family, right? To bring people back together or to show some kind of
Yes.
lesson or something, right? And it's like
Yes.
we kind of connected on that because he said his grandfather and my father, it was like a similar. It felt like it was like a necessary kind of like just it was like a diversion in the path that needed to happen, for the journey to like go to its destination.
Yeah. I mean, and me, a person like, and shout out Noah James, man, he's the god. Like a person like me that believes in like, obviously, I believe in souls. I believe in us having a higher soul, which is just an extension of ourselves, kind of like writing our life out for us beforehand, because that higher soul knows what our soul needs that lifetime for us to be able to ascend higher. Like, so to me, everything that happens to me, I already plotted out for myself. That's why there is no such thing as blame for me in my life, where I like blame somebody for this experience. I know that every experience that happened, good or bad, so far to me and will happen, was already written, so to speak, by me.
Yeah,
I'm just living it out.
That's like a Buddhist concept, or there's like a Buddhist concept similar to that, where it's like your karma determines your next life, right? So everything you chose to be here, right? You made choices,
chose your
like
parents,
chose your parents, you chose you chose because of past choices. It's kind of like that Matrix Neo shit. Like you already made the choice, you just have to understand it now, right? Like, and it's
so that's what it is for me. For death is like that. That was already written. Like I feel like, again, if you're supposed to go through these reincarnations so that you can get closer to this connection to God and ultimately become one with God, which is everything. So to me, I'm like, if a baby dies within 4 seconds of being born in the room, that was supposed to happen. As tragic, as fucked up, as horrible, as gut wrenching as that is for everybody involved, of course, that was supposed to happen, or it wouldn't have. If you take, for me, when I take on that approach to anything horrible, tragic, good,
there's comfort.
happy,
You find comfort. It's easier to dissect and like you get to internalize it, and then you get to let it go. It's like it's and that's definitely something that comes from meditation and like higher practices of discipline of like control
and like
emotion.
like we said before, like being able to see the bigger picture, the cyclical aspect of life, and that's what life is. You can see it all around you in things like wood, trees, paintings, paper, your body, shit, piss, like everything. So if you see that everywhere around you, there's an obvious message the universe is screaming at the top of his lungs at you, is that everything does this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's okay. It may not feel okay. You're attached. You're attached by memories, experiences, bonds you had with them. But that's not. I don't want to use the word selfish because that has like almost like a negative connotation to it. But there's a little bit of a selfish. You want them back for you. You may feel that they had more to live for, and that you feel like they were robbed. But ultimately, you want them for what they did for you.
No, yeah. You're there. And I think like I had this realization on a horrible mushroom trip, where like I kind of had to face like I had to like face my death, It was like I had I had this experience. It's kind of a long story, but basically there was a point where I kind of like I thought I had died, like I was, and like once I had like accepted that I was dead and
surrender,
that past, like it didn't matter, all those things, my anxiety about what are people gonna think about me, or like why, what are they gonna say at my funeral? Like, yeah, like how are people gonna remember me? Like, yeah, who's what kind of shit are they gonna talk that like I went this way,
We all think that, yeah.
And I let that shit go, and there was just like ultimate like freedom, right? It was just kind of like this, like, and I feel like there's probably something like that in actual death, right? Where I mean, our worries no longer trouble that soul who's, they
dissipate into everything. They become like they become dark matter. They become dark energy.
They're not worried about what their life and what people were thinking about them and how they're gonna like. Yeah, that shit's over for them. It's like that's not part of their
picture though. That's big picture mentality, and big up to you. A lot of like people call us woke and all this other shit, these terminologies, but for me, it's like it's just a matter of like you're a human, so yes, you're gonna be able to see the concentrated nuggets of time as these individual big things. Like a moment, it can be big for you, but there's a bit. If you always remain conscious of the fact that there is a bigger picture to it all, Even the small thing that right now is holding your focus for an hour, whether it's a bonus you got in your check, or whether it's the exhilaration from a show you just got off stage, or a song you just cut, or your girl just broke up with you, whatever you're feeling in that second, in the big picture really doesn't matter as far as you holding on to the essence of that moment. Let that moment go and move on to the next moment so the essence continues like a thread, right? You don't want to block the dam. You don't want to keep putting logs there like a beaver. You want to let that flow, life flow. Just let it. And I found personally, ever since that kind of stuff started to like happen to me in my mind and the neural pathways started to get rewired by myself, I've been gravy. I've been gravy. Like there's no expectation. I don't expect anything. I accept everything. That mantra, like those kind of things make me always feel like even through this kind of shit, I can't tell you how many people, even in my house, people that see me online, I do all these like lives every Thursday. People that I do Mona Loud, shout out for Mona Loud. On Saturdays, they always ask me to come back because I just come with this energy where they're like, you don't seem bothered. You don't seem twisted by this. You don't seem fucked up by this. You don't seem like, I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm good. Every day I wake up, yes, for a second I don't realize it's happening, and then I come to. But then I also realize I'm alive. Oh shit, I woke up. Dope. Let's do it. What's up?
No, and I think that's been the biggest breakthrough and like takeaway for me is that like it's okay to feel shitty, but you have to take that next step out of shitty. Like go past the shitty. You got to go past the shitty, you know, like, and that's kind of where like I've been trying to just make sure I always get past that, like, and just keep on to that positive mindset. Like, yeah, I'm here. I have all my essentials, like the survival essentials, taken care of. I got to figure out these like higher Maslow self enlightenment essentials now. Like, you know, it's crazy because there's a weird irony where I feel like there's like the people who have to work are probably like getting through this a lot easier than the folks who are just stuck at home, you know, because like they don't have the time to think about the existential of it, right? Because they're on that like bread and butter. They got crazy structure. They're still working, right? And they have the anxiety of having to like clean and sanitize and change gloves and wash hands and don't touch your face and wear a mask. Like, so they don't, you know, like I've been thinking about my purpose lately and like what, you know, what is my value if I'm not able to bring people together.
And like you were saying, like the mushroom experience, like things like that. I feel even like I've had like ayahuasca trips, acid trips. Like I've been where you've been as far as the near death experience. I've seen weird things, but I love it. I recommend hallucinogenics to everybody. But there's a lot of shit. What was I saying?
I don't, just so that's on the record. You know, some people might have underlying, you know, mental you know, if they like schizophrenia or like you know, their dementia. That there's got to be some kind of precautions. You know, you should probably have some conversations with people. But
I was gonna say like things like that.
They're good.
I was gonna say like those kind of experiences can be attained without that stuff. That's what I feel. That's what I was getting at. So I'm like the feeling, like you said, like you could stay like slumped and like we all should allow ourselves that feeling momentarily to feel like what we're feeling because this is all fucked up. But then, like you said, snapping out of it, because anybody could stay in that feeling for 23 years, 40 years. You could stay depressed forever. But the quicker you wake up out of it, whether it's a few hours, give yourself a week, whatever you need. But as soon as you are able to get out of it, get out of it. I think that kind of stuff is obviously like awareness. Like you said, the people that are at work probably don't have the ability to get existential with it and see life in the big picture like you're saying you're able to. But I think it's awareness. Once you want to get there, you can. We all can. We all have that in us to do.
And I definitely have been, I'm happy that it was only a month and a half and not like, you know, like at first I was like, fuck, it took me forever. But now I'm just like, you know what, I'm glad I'm over it. Like, you know, it took what it took. Like, that's, you know.
Yeah. Some people are still in that quicksand today. And I understand because this thing there is no date yet. There is no, like, we still don't know, like, how long this will last. I personally think we're not going to get really back to a sense of not being fearful of being near somebody for 2 years.
Okay, no, let's tail it back, maybe, because the fear, like, that could last forever, right? Like, who knows? Like,
the PTSD from this.
The children growing up right now who are being told, don't hug people, you know, wear a mask. Like, who knows how then in their formative years, like, they might grow up to be next level germaphobes because of this, right? But I'm more curious, when do you really think, like, we'll be able to gather again? Like, when do you think it'll be safe for people to start hanging out? Like, cause people are still, I'm in the books to do a wedding in July or August, and another one in October. So like, I'm wondering like if these
Right.
things are gonna like, I'm curious.
I think probably within the next few months we'll be going back to some sort of um, odd going back to society as far as levels of it, and still a lot of signs out and distancing. And I don't think they'll be able to have like things like large events yet. I think it'll probably take maybe a year before they're able to like really start having like concerts and.
But like, what about our industry, like the dive bar circuit? When do you
Right.
think we're gonna bounce back? Like, you think that's like? Do you think
I
this
think
year?
this
Do you think
year.
2020 is done, or you think we'll be back? Like, you have to.
I think this year. I mean, you could already see the people this weekend. Even they were showing footage of people in Orange County and other places. Like OC was full of people on the beach, on the boardwalk. People, restaurants with like tables 6 feet apart from each other, and the waiters and the bartenders wearing masks. I mean, people are obviously itching. And again, going back to what we were talking about like 30 minutes ago, society can't really handle economically being shut down too long because it will crumble. Like everything is predicated on spending. And if people ain't spending, or if they're just spending online, which is minimal compared to what they spend when they're out doing tourist shit and traveling and booking flights and going out, like they're gonna let people start going back with a certain amount of people probably dropping off in the beginning a lot more than before.
Well, I
It's
mean,
gonna probably be a fun.
I think Joe Rogan was talking about it today, or I was listening to a podcast today where he was talking about, yeah, like, people are at home, committing suicide, like getting crazy into the substance abuse, or like just like the quality of life, right? I think Sam Harris is also doing a conversation of like the quality of life and like
Yeah,
what's
we can't afford it economically or psychologically, I think, for this to continue too long. So at
right.
some point there's gonna be a decision to like sacrifice a certain percentage of society when they open things up and people start dropping a little more at a certain time for like maybe a month after they open it all up, and then hopefully I guess will be the hope that it'll taper down again and level out. People have set theories about it coming back in the fall because the summer kills it a little bit like all the flus. This is also unprecedented. Again, I don't even know about records as far as 1918. I think it kind of disappeared on its own in a year, from what I remember reading. So if that's the case, it started kind of around February here, middle of February, without it being reported. It got reported in March. So next February, maybe it'll start to like level out.
But I mean, I have seen some things about like they're thinking it might have been here in November, December of last year.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying like they feel they had it
already, yeah.
and
Like,
got rid of it.
I'm one of those people, dude. Like, I was really fucking sick. Like, I literally fainted.
Really?
Like, I passed out. And
Dude.
I thought I had bruised my rib because I had this crazy pain under my chest. Like when I woke up.
Wow.
And it was
in
like
October?
it was like it was like
November?
it was like, so I was like sick for like 5 weeks. But the first 3 weeks were just kind of like whatever. And then like right after New Year's, for like 2 weeks, I was literally like dead.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't
Wow.
know, but I just thought, partying, it's like the holidays, New Year's
Sure.
Eve, up all night, like
Right.
drinking. I just figured, la vida mala, whatever, right?
Right.
But now it's like, shit, I might have had
You
that
might have had
shit
corona.
and survived,
I mean, a lot of the like Fauci was saying like he's almost like you gotta act like you have it, like just act like you have it, and that way you're okay.
Yeah,
And I'm
everybody
like,
acts like they have it, so everybody should
I
be
feel
wearing
like
masks and gloved
I
up.
feel like there's been like every other day. Sometimes I'll think like I feel like something like my throat. I'll be like, oh shit, I feel something. I won't say nothing, but in my mind, I'm like, I think I got corona right now. But that's again the PTSD from all this shit. Everybody with, and like you said, my hope is that my daughter, like when she like 10 years from now, when I ask her about this time, I'm hoping that she'll see it as the time that she had the time of her life.
Yeah, we were kicking it every day, Daddy. We were chilling out every day.
Yeah, she's gonna have a whole different perspective on this period than me and like everybody else will. We're gonna be like, it was rough. She's gonna be like, it was amazing. Hopefully, she's not gonna be like.
Well, luckily, Face was a germaphobe before this shit happened. So when this shit hit, he already had like protocols set. Like he's like, this is how we do it. Spray your shoes. Take off this, like masks. He was like really extra about it. It helped. Like You know, we roll around with fucking hand sanitizer, gloves. I got like a spray bottle with alcohol in it, like, you know, just like hit the droplets.
Information is power. When it's proper information, that shit is key. Shit is key. That's why you gotta always like think about the sources that I listen to. Obviously, everybody gets caught up in, you know, the blogs and every day watching the idiot talk, and then they watch other things in newscasts and like Entertainment Tonight talk. I'm like, look, man, there's like only like maybe 3 or 4 actual, reliable, trustworthy service, like, you know, that you can sources that you could trust that are gonna give you the like. So just do the knowledge. Like, don't just get caught up in like, don't do that. Don't do
like
that.
what? Like who would you recommend? I'm thinking like I've been doing the CDC and then like LA County, like their fucking health department. Like those are the 2 that I've been kind of going off of.
Those are great. Yeah, I rock with those sources. Even like I always like even before all this, I obviously was always one to trust outside of the state's media. So things like Al Jazeera, Democracy Now, those kind of publications, those kind of blogs and stuff like that. Those news corporations. Like I rock with. Usually I rock with anybody outside of the U.S. because I feel the U.S. never gives us the actual.
Well, that's why I fuck with Abby Martin. You know, she was on fucking Russia TV. And
RT. She's dope. She's AJ Plus, AJ English. Those are great. Al Jazeera. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of ways to get information and not have the rhetoric. I mean, people were drinking bleach. Like, really?
Yeah, I mean, people were trying all kinds of shit, right? But, I mean, that's a combination of, like, bad information and fear and ignorance and who knows, right? Who were their friends? Who were their friends that, you know, did they ask their friends if that was a good idea? I feel like I'd always ask my homies, like, yo, you know, what do you like?
Yeah, I can't even imagine, like, asking the homie, yo, should I drink bleach? What if I put a little water in it? What if I put a little vodka?
You know,
like no, don't drink bleach.
You know how I usually shoot up my heroin? What if I shoot up some Lysol like that? Will that work? Like, God.
So will I kill the corona like that? Like, no, you won't. No, you won't, man. Don't do it. Oh, my God.
Nah, but it's cool because Face, Bartles, and we decided to, like, self-quarantine together, right? So that we could work and shit.
That.
And so, like, it's been tight because, like, our memory of the corona is, like, getting fucked up and working on music. And, like, you know, like, that's going to be our memory of this time, so.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You should definitely, man. I wish I had equipment. If you guys got equipment, you should definitely be putting out, like, hella music. You already are. I mean, I see the videos, fire, all your concepts are dope, but y'all putting out those Friday joints, like, yeah, y'all got a good thing.
We're trying to stay consistent because I feel like in this time, that's going to separate. It's going to make a big difference when we could get out of it. Like
we were saying earlier, like, I know I've personally noticed people that have just not, or decided like not to put up anything until this all blows over. Maybe I don't know what their thought process is. I'm like, I'm posting my T-shirts. I'm posting anything you can buy online for me. I'm posting it.
And I mean, we can only speculate, right? But I would assume it's a combination of like maybe they're one of those essential workers and their shit is like a little fucked up right now, or maybe they don't have the gear and they're not an essential worker, so they're on that like unemployment living in a way and they can't buy the gear, right? Or like I noticed like a lot of the collectives have been able to survive because they have a team, you know, and the teams are like, they're staying active as a team, and it's like when you're by yourself and you're trying to like you're working with other people, you're hiring people, you go to someone else's studio, like I'm pretty sure it's a lot harder to.
Totally.
And especially if your thing was like you rocking shows and like that's a majority of your content is like flyers and then recaps.
Oh man, touring. I can't imagine. Yeah, touring artists right now probably fuck. But you see us like indies, and you also see like the majors, like the Griseldas, and you see all the bros like SD Knack, and you see the Rome Streets and the Ras Frescos. Like everybody that I know as far as like my peers and people that rock with the kind of wave I rock with in hip hop and rap. They figured out a way. They've shifted, and a lot of the merch and tour money is gone, but they're figuring out other ways. So like, they're dropping like 5-song EPs for $20. They're dropping vinyls to have shipped from UK to the fans, and stickers and new merch up to get shipped to you, and people doing drop-offs with masks in LA if you live near them. Like, you figure it out, man. I'm like, for me, personally, I'm always like, you figure it out. You figure it the fuck out. Like, if this is what you do, if this is what you tell people you do, and this is what you say you want to do for the rest of your life, this is kind of a time where you kind of prove it.
Or you find out, like, maybe it's not.
Maybe it's not for you.
And that's okay. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Totally. This is a good way to, this is like you said, like Mother Nature weaning out. Like if Mother Nature like put us in our houses so that everything can like be happy again. there's a good time for people like hip hop and rap and artists to like wean out the people that they're not built for this. Maybe, who knows?
Or like even I feel like the folks who actually have their real fans and they're relatable and it's not so much like hype and wave, like you're starting to see like who really supports you, you know, and who's still like, you know, people are hitting me up trying to buy shirts still, asking me for the Cash App or the Venmo, you know, trying to send me something like, you know,
Totally.
so like you see you're kind of you have to learn, right? Like if you don't have your base right now, then what are like what have you been building, you know? Like
Right.
how relatable is your music? Like what is your lane if you don't have anybody fucking with you right now, right? Like
right. Or try out these new things like an IG live or something. Like I said, like I know there's certain people that probably before never knew much about my music or didn't tap in as much as before, but followed me. And now that I'm doing IG lives and I'm actually accessible at a certain time of day where they're at home and they can access me, they're tapping in and they're like, oh, I didn't even know you rock like that, or I didn't even know you did, or I never heard that song before when you just spit that bar last night on that IG live. Is that song on SoundCloud? I'm like, yeah, go download it, kid, go share it. It's like, you figure it out. You figure it out, man. Like, this is a way to figure out other niches, other ways to hit the button. I feel. I mean, I'm an independent solo artist, so it's a lot easier for me. I mean, I literally have like an hour a day where my daughter has her quiet time and like nighttime. So I'm trying to every other night doing the family thing, but still also being able to, like I said, you jump in the car, hour, 2 hours, do a show, do a concert, jump on a speakeasy, a poetry slam, a cipher, and just upload it, chop it up into pieces, upload a little bit Tuesday, upload another bit Thursday, hit them with something Sunday, like just chop up the material on my phone, like anything. I'm figuring out all these apps. I'm downloading all these crazy filter apps and InShot and these other apps to do videos and do lettering on the top of the bars and make it look like, you know, world star shit. Like, figure it out. Figure it out.
no, yeah, a lot of it has been Google has probably been people's best friends right now. Like a lot of the shit that I'm doing, like using OBS with the Restream, and I'm using the GoPro. Like a lot of this shit, I had to Google, figure out how to buy some cable.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of definitely like what's the word I'm looking for?
Learning
curve, but also just being agile, you know, like being flexible, being able to go a different way. This doesn't work, let's figure it out. Like not getting frustrated, you know, not losing my cool when something didn't work, and just figuring out, okay, what's the workaround, what's the fix? Like don't get caught up in the fucking and that it's kind of like this too. I was like, fuck it, like I got the new shit, let's just do it. We'll see how it comes out later. Like I don't even know how it's gonna come out, but I know I got I can see what we're recording, and that's so the future upload is gonna be fire. You know, I got the audio. We figured out our shit. So
yeah, and like you said, like Google. I've been Googling recipes like crazy. Like, don't get me started on cooking at home. Like, I'm learning how to make dishes just out of like trying to change it up, getting bored with cooking the same thing every day, thinking of things to buy when I go grocery shopping that I could mix it up with some weird Asian recipe of something. Like, just
Bro, I didn't realize how much I ate on the job.
Right.
Free meal at Novocaine on Tuesday, and then you know, like when I was doing Golden Road, meal on them, and then you know, anytime I did any of the vegan pop-ups, it was like they would hook it up with food. It's like, so I was like, fuck, like I literally cannot eat right now, like just because like all the spots where I was eating now, where I was getting hooked up with, like that was like my meal plan was based on my job plan, you know? It's like, fuck, it's so crazy. So like that's the other thing though.
This pandemic is putting like a spotlight, like not just on like the class systems and shit like that, but also on our personal lives. You're realizing like that. I was like, damn, I spend a lot. Like every week and a half, spending $1.60 on groceries, $1.40, $1.50. I was like, I never spent money on groceries like that. Meanwhile, my car's been on a full tank for like 2 weeks. I feel that bitch up. She's been sitting here like chilling. I'm like, wow, that's dope.
Yeah, people are getting like refunds on their insurance and shit because they're not driving right now. You know, like,
right? It's a crazy time, man. We're all every day I wake up, it's like a new thing that trips me out. I'm like, wow, really? Like either seeing like the way we're adapting, the people wearing masks everywhere, the makeshift masks. People have like businesses built off like fancy masks and doing design. I'm bugging. I'm like, girls, I see homegirls with whole like new ventures opening up new websites just to sell these masks.
No,
Like, it's
yeah,
wild.
a lot of my homies who were doing clothing just basically shift their production into masks because they were able to stay
Yes.
essential and continue and then able to like provide for the community. It's a trip, like
It's a dope way to flip it.
Street Rebirth. Like I was able to mail out some masks to some peeps of mine, like because they didn't have the
Wow.
N95, so I was like, "Yo, you got some?" I Venmoed him. He mailed them
So,
out. You know what I mean? Like people who are like in that supply chain who already are like they have a his whole business is built on mailing stuff and getting stuff delivered, right? So he was already
right.
ready to like do. You just had to switch it up a little bit.
Right. It's making everybody do that. I mean, this thing we obviously will never be the same after this. The same way like after same way 9/11. Like the world was never the same really after 9/11.
I'm
And
hoping
the
people
world will
cut
never.
down on the meat intake, bro. That was one of the cool things. Like I would go to the grocery stores and all the shit was like there was nothing to eat, but all the vegan food was hella stocked. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I was like, oh, we good out here. Shit, let me get my Beyond Meat.
Yeah,
These
exactly.
veggies right
All
here.
right. Fuck, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, like
It is putting spotlights on things.
well, like a lot of the wet markets, right, where this thing allegedly came from, right? Supposedly the Wuhan with the animals, it's
Right.
like that's all because of consumption of meat, Like you're seeing like the Tyson plant is shutting down. Like a lot of the corona hotspots have been at meat plants and like where people are working
Right.
with food, Like that's like you still want to eat that? I don't know,
That's
like
high contamination. Yeah, yeah, and that's what this is all like. Again, teaching people to adapt and shift on the fly and figure it out on the fly, like your diet, your creative abilities, how you work from home, homeschooling your kid, like romance. Like I don't even know how people that date deal with this shit. Like you
bro,
can't go on dates. You have to do like
rough,
virtual.
bro. It's
I
been
see people
rough,
having
bro.
virtual.
It's been
People
rough.
having virtual dates, like fucking drinking wine and brunch, like FaceTime with each other, like.
Honestly, bro, like I just got out of a relationship and I was like kind of on fucking bachelor mode right before this shit happened, and I just I have not gotten any in like over a month. It's wild, like
Yeah.
and I'm not down to take that risk. And like most of the girls that I'm talking to, they're smart enough to not want to take that risk. That's why I
I
talk to
heard that
them.
a lot.
So it's
Yeah,
like
I
there's
heard
just
that.
everybody's just on
People are like, it's not
fucking
worth it.
masturbation and dildos are essential
Hell yeah.
and like
Again,
fucking Pornhub's giving away free weeks. So.
Free membership, boy. People are going crazy in the bathroom, man. It's like, hey, people are figuring this out. We're all like such adaptable social creatures. Obviously, this is so crazy, the fact that we are such social, and like you said, the social aspect of what your life brings entertainment wise and how that's cut off essentially at this point. It's a crazy like neural pathway shifting thing we're going through right now. Like, what will we look like after this? And again, I think it'll be about probably a good solid 2 years before you walk next to somebody and not
Be
fully,
kind of freaked out, right? Like, yeah.
right. I see people now. Me and my daughter walk every day around the block twice, and every day it's people coming around on the sidewalk.
And they cross the street and shit. Yeah, I would too.
And my daughter, like you said, the kids are gonna be affected. My daughter's the one saying, "Daddy, coronavirus, he might have. Let's cross." I'm like, "Oh shit."
Yeah,
all right.
yeah. They're gonna internalize it for sure, But
Yeah.
again, but this is highlighting a lot of things as well, like homeschooling, right? Like the homeschoolers are good, the preppers are good, right? The antisocial folks, like the people who are afraid of big crowds, right? They're having a relief now because everybody's
Right.
there's no pressure to go out and have to do shit.
Right.
No one's inviting you anywhere that you have to cancel on, Like
I've seen the meme of people saying, after this is all over, invite me, please. I promise
I will go. I will show up to all the places. Yeah, like I've been thinking, like I used to work a lot and not, I'd miss out on stuff with homies and festivals and vacations and birthdays
Right.
and shit because I was like, DJing, chasing cash. It's like, shit. Now I miss all these fuckers. It's like
Right.
I probably should have thought about that. Like that's probably
Right.
like going back to it, like put more time aside to like chill
That's
with
good.
them and the boys and like
Perspective shift. That's what we all should be doing. And I can't even imagine, like, once this pops off as far as opening up, it will. I mean, you'll probably see in the venue aspect as far as bars and shit like that. It's probably going to be an explosion of money. People are going to flood when they're allowed to be actually out without breaking like state rules and whatever. When they're allowed. Woo,
and I was talking to some business owners, like some of the venues that I worked at, like in contact, and like they're all ready, you know, and they're telling me like, yo, we're gonna go bigger, we're gonna go like more, you know, like
Hell
we're gonna
yeah.
fucking shit, get after it, we're gonna make it all
Man,
up. So
it's going to be crazy.
there's a lot to
It's
look
gonna
forward to, and I got, you know, faces like, yo, we're gonna tour after all, you know, everybody's like,
Hell yeah.
everybody in my circle, I feel, is excited and like energized right now, you know,
Good.
and I'm just hoping
Yeah.
that like this shit doesn't last longer, then we can sustain that positivity.
The
you know?
wave,
Like, yeah.
right. Keep surfing the wave as long as the wave exists, boy. I hope this doesn't continue. I mean, and again, if it went away the way it did back in 1918 on its own, so to speak, without the obvious technology we have today to be able to fight things off better, this shouldn't be that much long lasting as far as I'm concerned. As far as like people dying at the rate they've been dying or started to die in the beginning of all this in the beginning of the year, I don't think it'll last that much longer. We'll be back out there for sure.
I mean, it's inevitable. It's gonna open up. Like at some point, people are not gonna give a fuck anymore. They're gonna be like, let them die. Like whoever's gonna die, let them die.
That's what's probably gonna happen. It's gonna open up. It's gonna be a lot of deaths initially, and then they're gonna be like, we're just gonna have to ride this out, y'all. We can't stay closed. We can't afford it. It's a supply and demand economic system globally, and if you're not spending and people ain't shopping, this shit is gone, and there's gonna have to be bitcoins or something.
And I think there's gonna be like a shift, you know, like a lot of people had to do like deliveries and curbside pickup and like to go shit. And that's probably gonna be huge still, you know, like
Super.
Like those are probably gonna be just bigger aspects. There's gonna be less tables. Like the occupancies are probably gonna be cut in half, right? Like the limit.
Right.
Like, yeah, if it used to be 80, probably only 40 now. You know, like.
Yeah, because they saw they could actually afford to get away with it. So it's like, yeah, there's a lot. Again, this goes back to my premise earlier about the sole purpose and learning being that. Like we're all learning every day on the fly, whether it's me, you, everybody on this block, everybody 10 miles from me. In some way today, they learned something without even realizing they did, without being able to look back on the day and break it down hour by hour and say, that's where I learned something. They did, either about themselves, either about what's happening in the world right now, either about a work situation, either about a show. They learned something about this because it's making you learn new shit. This has never happened before in the history of us.
And if you're not learning new shit, you're probably fucking up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, that's, and at some point, like, that's like that survival of the fittest, you know, and just
Darwinism.
Who's gonna come out is like who can adapt and who can change and who can.
Yeah, this is like a big strainer. There's like a big giant Mother Nature strainer, and it's gonna like work as a sieve, and certain things will fall through, and other things will stay in the strainer. Like, are you thick enough to stay in the strainer? That's what it's about. This shit is not gonna not affect you. It depends. You're gonna be the one that decides how it affects you. It's again that Stoic principle that I always say, like, everything is only split down the middle in two ways. There's all this shit I don't control, and there's only one thing I control.
My reaction to all the other shit that I don't control. Like,
Exactamundo. So I'm like, fuck it. This all happened. I have nothing to do with it. All I can control in it is me and how I react to it every day. Am I gonna freak out? Am I gonna stay in my pajamas all day? Am I not gonna perform? Am I not gonna work on lyrics? Like, no. Fuck that. I want my numbers up after this. I want to come out of this with a bigger following.
Nah, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's our goal too. So obviously we're in good company, you know.
For sure.
All right, well, we've been going for like an hour plus the first call when we dropped and shit. So
I didn't even see the clock.
Nah, I think we had a solid conversation, man. It was nice just catching up, you know. For a second, I forgot we were recording this shit, and it was just like we were just bullshitting, you know. And like that's gonna be the best part about all this is like all the people who jump on is just gonna be able to bullshit and create content at the same time. Like it's kind of a win-win, you know.
Yeah, I did forget. I thought we were just on a phone call. Like you called me, we just started talking on a FaceTime call.
Yeah. You just blazing the whip and shit.
Dope shit, man.
All right, my boy. Well, thanks for fucking catching up, man. Appreciate your time, your wisdom, your insight. It's
Thank you, man.
Always dope talking to you. I could feel your energy through the call and shit. So it's nice, bro. It's nice. Have a good one, dog.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. I'll see you when I see you.
For sure, brother. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, let's talk about recognition and respect. While I feast, the label's picking up the check. Then I leave to catch myself. The audience never forgets when I'm on stage. There's serotonin drip.